Hello everybody and welcome along to this week's edition of the Rebel Wide Ball, and I suppose rather than concentrating too much on Michael Healy and Leo Varadkar and the happenings in Dublin during the week, we'll probably move on to what we should be talking about, and that's a little bit of sport. As usual, the mix is more or less the same in terms of Gaelic games, Camogie. We have obviously some soccer, rugby and a little bit of golf. We'll begin with is it a big weekend in terms of the Alliance National Hurling League? We've got the two semi-finals taking place. Cork play Kilkenny on Saturday night in Cork GAA at 7:15, and that should bring a serious crowd to Cork GAA, and then the following day at 3:45 down in Nolan Park you have the meeting of the South East teams, Wexford and Waterford. But I think I've made this point to you before about the Alliance National Hurling Leagues. Are there real leagues at all? And I know you might be a little confused about that, but I think the basic tenet of any league is that there should be serious relegation involved. There is no relegation in terms of the National Hurling League because they've got these couple of teams up in Division 1 that are completely and totally out of their, excuse the pun, out of their league. You're talking about Offaly and then Laois and maybe Antrim. And basically they divide the division then into the A section and the B section, and they had Offaly in the A section, which were the whipping boys. In the B section then you had, well, it was a little bit more even, I suppose, in that you had Laois and Antrim in there, and the only game that really mattered, if you wish, was the game between Laois and Antrim, and unfortunately for Antrim they lost that. So and by the way, Antrim now will play Offaly this Saturday. I think that's in Navan to decide which team drops out, and they'll be replaced by a team of a similar standard coming up, and you'll have the same scenario. I mean, where are we with Limerick in all of this? And I mean, that's Cork's real big issue, if you wish. Like Limerick won one match, drew a match, and we won't hear a bit about them now until Easter Sunday when they play Cork. But anyway, to deal with the issues at hand, Cork and Kilkenny, I suppose first of all, Cork have been really impressed in all their game, and I think a real big plus if we can use that. And I'm not saying that the league, that the league didn't have some uses. Of course it did, but I think it was interesting maybe in the Sunday game last Sunday night when one of the presenters suggested that is the league a shambles. No, strong words indeed. But anyway, from a Cork point of view, they've used it to bring in some new players that have a lot of experience. They've done a great success. A couple of years ago you wouldn't have been able to say a sentence like that. So they have, and as well as a strong starting 15, they have serious players coming in off the bench. Where Kilkenny, well, after their weak victory last week over Waterford, but I don't think they were too concerned about that either. TJ Reid is I think he's probably still out. So I think that Cork are ahead of Kilkenny, and I'd be expecting Cork to win that. And who knows, they haven't won a league since 1998, and the league final goes on next Sunday, or Sunday week I should say, as to who is going to win between Waterford and Wexford. I'd have it as a toss of a coin. I think Waterford are probably the slightly better side. So that's the hurling. In football, my God, it's a totally different story. The problem with the league in football is too competitive, and here we are with Cork, last day of the season, travelling up to Tullamore, to O'Connor Park in Tullamore on Sunday for a 2:00 game against Offaly, and this is a loser takes all or a winner takes all, whichever way you want to look at it. Look, you don't need me to tell you about the precarious position Cork football is in terms of this match. Lose it and there's absolutely no doubt in my mind it's Tailteann Cup. You could say it is TC Day rather than D-Day, because when if Cork were to lose, the only way they would stay in the Sam Maguire series is by beating Kerry in a Munster semi-final, and we won't even dream about that. Look, I don't know, is a work in progress, whatever we went to look at it. There were a few positives came out of the game last week. They were playing down, but it was down. Remember, they are now relegated. I suppose the fact that we had, I think, Colm O'Callaghan from Randal Óg did his credentials, no harm at all, and maybe he can slot us in as a midfielder. I was impressed too with John Cooper. He caught a couple of great balls early on, and it remains to be seen whether he'll be included. But the big, I suppose, if I can't overuse that word, but the performance of Cathal O'Mahony, and I know some have concerns about him that maybe he likes to shoot without passing. But by God, he got 3 great points last Sunday, and he got 2 points the week before when he came on against against Meath. So look, himself, Stephen Sherlock, has been really, really shining in all of the majority of the games. And do you know what I think is good about him? He's a good free taker, and he's reasonably accurate, but he's also a hard worker. So you have the big game in terms of Cork GAA now is the football match. Do you think people believe that? Far from it. Anyway, it would be great, of course, if people travel to the game, because supporters do make a difference. And like Offaly, despite the fact that they hadn't had the greatest of seasons, but like probably the expectancy in Offaly is a little bit lower, but they still have a crowd in O'Connor Park on Sunday. If Cork had a crowd there, it would be great as well. Another match that's on this weekend, and that is the Munster JBF Football Championship. Now, this is organised by Knockaderry GAA Club in Limerick, and the Cork Trwb, Randal Óg, have got to the final, beating Moyvan of Kerry in the semi-final, and on Saturday at 2 o'clock they play Granabellangary from Limerick. It's been an incredible, I suppose, 2021 for this club, and now for this to happen, and for Randal Óg to win a Munster Championship. And I think they have a good chance now. I mean, beating a Kerry team, and we've seen the difficulties the Cork clubs have had with that. So the very best of luck to the Randalls. An issue that has, I suppose, come into our sphere over the last while is schools competitions in Cork. And there are, first of all, you have the Munster schools competitions, which are organised by the Munster Post Primary Schools GAA, and they're separate to what's organised by Cork Post Primary Schools. Maybe there are too many school competitions, maybe they're not enough, but rumours circulate that there are county minor management teams in subtle and maybe non-subtle manners preventing Cork minor players from playing with their school. Now, as I say, there's rumour, they are only rumours, but it would be absolutely dreadful in my mind if that was the case. I'm not talking about playing a school match a day before a team plays a Munster Championship. The Cork minor hurlers, for example, are playing, I think, in a couple of weeks' time. They're in a group with, just to fill you in this, they're in a group with Kerry, Limerick. 3 of them, with 2 to qualify. Now, for 2 marks, tell me which team is going to qualify there. But anyway, I have seen in the past as well clubs maybe interfering with school teams, maybe school teams interfering with club teams. I've seen situations where players were not allowed to play for a school. And at the same time, I've seen some of these players come across them playing in, we'll call them soccer matches, inside in enclosed hard-court areas where the risk of injury. I think this short-term thinking, and it should not be tolerated if that is the case. No, we'll remain to be, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll come back to you, and if the rumours are unfounded, of course, we'll bring that to your attention. Anyway, that's that. It's a big weekend for Cork Camogie. Now, the senior Camogie team are already through to the league final, which would be played as a curtain raiser to the National Hurling League. Wouldn't it be nice if Cork were in that as well? In the Hurling League, the Camogie team are there. But for the Division 2 team, which is Cork's intermediate team, they're playing Galway this weekend in the All-Ireland quarter final. That game goes on at 2 o'clock on Saturday in Moneygall. And I think Cork have a good chance of getting through here. It's the Galway second team now as well, and they played Laois. They were due to play Laois, it was cancelled. They were beaten by Antrim and they beat Kerry. Now, the Kerry team is one club. Galway, on the other hand, just lost one game, and that was against Wexford, who will be one of the favourites of the championship, and they followed up with victories over Derry and Meath. So I think Cork have a real good chance there. And for Cork people that might go to that match, the big one is on at Simple Stadium at 5 o'clock, and that's where Cork play Galway in the All-Ireland Minor Camogie Final. Remember, Cork won it last year, and I think they have a good chance of winning it this year. They've had 5 games so far in this competition. They played Galway actually early on, beat them by 2 points. Then they followed up with a match against Dublin, which they won easily. In the quarter-final, seriously lucky to get over a very well-drilled Waterford side. And this last week, again, I think it was a 1-point victory over Tipperary. So I'm predicting, if you like, a Cork double on Saturday. And as I said, it's nice that the All-Ireland Camogie Final is on in Simple Stadium. In terms of soccer, it's a break from the Premier League because it's an international weekend, if you like, and some teams that have already qualified for the World Cup will be playing friendlies. There are a number of teams that are involved in qualifying World Cup qualifying games. Actually, one game that was meant to be playing tonight was Poland and Russia, and my God, that's obviously gone, and you obviously know the reason why. But this window affords Ireland the fact that they're not qualified, they're not going to the World Cup, but they're going to be playing 2 friendlies on Saturday and Tuesday, both in the Aviva, where they take on Belgium on Saturday. No, the Belgium team that's coming over is a development side. I think that they're all going to be under 25. The Irish team, after a dreadful start, if you like, to Stephen Kinney's reign, where he was dogged by COVID cases, withdrawals and all that, it's really settled, and they've won, I think it's 3 of their last 5 games. So this is another opportunity, and I suppose, look, at these friendlies, when they're played in the Aviva, this team is seen as being as crowd friendly, and I think there'll be quite a sizable attendance at both the game on Saturday at 5 o'clock and then on Tuesday at 7:45. So that's going to be on the menu for people following the international soccer team. In terms of the League of Ireland, in Division 1, like we mentioned before, is a 9-team league. So Cove, who are down at the bottom end of it, have a free weekend. Cork are at the very opposite. They're on a real rich vein of form, winning their last 3 or 4 games, 3 games I think, and drawing one before that. And they're on top of the league with 13 points in the same spot as Galway. Now Galway have a game less than them played. That was the only downside so far, I would think, from a Cork point of view, that defeat to Galway. But anyway, this weekend they take on Athlone this Friday at 7:45, and I would imagine they have a real good chance here. And I won't say there's no doubt in my mind, Cork are going to be promoted. I think out of Division 1 they've started well, and I can't see where any more serious opposition, like if they finish up in the top couple of places out of 9. And it's what you'd expect anyway. That's where Cork should be. Cork City should be playing in the Premier League. In terms of rugby, well, after the Six Nations win, not the Six Nations win, the Triple Crown win last week, France won it. I think it's fair to assume at this stage that the 2 top teams in the world are probably France and Ireland, but the next time we'll see the international team is going to be on the summer tour, and they'll play the All Blacks in that, and that'll provide further guidance. But anyway, this weekend it's back to the URC, the United Rugby Championship, and Munster, after their 2 defeats to the South African side, are back in home soil. They're back in Musgrave Park, where they play Benetton, and that game, as I said, is on Friday night. I think the time of that around probably 7 o'clock or something. It's a brain. It needs replacing. A number of the players involved with the Six Nations team, with the Ireland team, that didn't see game action are back, like Gavin Coombs, Jerry Lockman and Craig Casey. The others are not back yet. I'd expect Munster to get back in winning ways. They're playing Benetton, who are one of the Italian sides. I know you'll probably say to me, look at Italy last week. Their first win since 2015. Let's not get carried away with Italian rugby with the last minute try. In terms of golf, well, the Challenge Tour resumes after a 2-week break, and John Murphy our man, if you like, is involved in the SDC Open in South Africa. In terms of the PGA, and we have one listener at least, maybe we've only one listener, who is a big fan of Seamus Power. Now, what's on this week, we'll tell about him now. What's on this weekend is the Matchplay Championship. 64 top players in the world, or as close as you'll get. That, you know, it started yesterday and on today and Friday, and then that they're divided up into groups of 4, and they'll eventually end up with a 16 for Saturday morning. You have the last 16 that'll break down to quarterfinals on Saturday evening, semi-finals on Sunday, and finals on Sunday. Like, it's the only big event that's played like this, one golfer versus the other. That's the match play situation. But Seamus Power is hoping that the postman will call on Monday morning with an invitation to the US Masters in Augusta. He's around 47th place at the moment, and he had a good win yesterday, so hopefully he will remain in the top 15. If he does, he's going to get that famous invitation. So that's it for this week. Once again, our gratitude to you for tuning this way. Until the next time, as we always say, take care of yourself and take care of each other.